If that happens, every central bank of every country in the world has to flush all the dollars out of its vaults to buy euros. The international money market becomes glutted with dollars, their value collapses, everyone evacuates the New York Stock Exchange, and the US is back once again in its nightmare Dust Bowl depression of the 1930s, only this time without a strong trade union busting Nazi Germany to invest in. Hitler comes to power from 29, takes power in 33, US corporate investment declines everywhere on continental Europe apart from one country, Nazi Germany, where between 1929 and 1940 it increases by 48.5%. That's almost 50% on a graph. That'd be like this. Ford, ITT, International Harvester, IBM, the Union Banking Corps, General Motors. So, if the countries of the world start buying and selling oil in euros, not dollars, it's the collapse of US capitalism. You gotta nip that in the bud, and to stop it catching on, you gotta make an example of someone. Therefore, I believe we may begin to imagine the war in Iraq as a very public punishment beating. You have to imagine the world as a Bronx housing project, and the US is the #1 crack-dealing mafia don on the block. Anybody wants to buy rock in this neighborhood, you better come to me. Otherwise, you're gonna end up like that fucking guy over there. Take a good look, everybody. And it's right after Operation Desert Fox. Everyone's watching as Iraq comes limping back to his first day at work at the petrol station. And he lifts the drop lock shutters and he gets to the PA system in the forecourt and says, "Okay, everybody, come to me. I sell rock and they crack to everybody. I don't care." And leaning out of the Andes tower blocks, 3rd floor balcony, Venezuela, Bolivia and Peru are looking down, and Venezuela calls down to America. Compañero, I thought you said you had this neighborhood under control. Hey, don't make me come up there and deal with you. You tried that last week, my friend. You could not get up these stairs. Maybe I come down there to you. You do that. Right now, I got business to take care of. And he always gets his boys, gets the boys on a baseball bats. And they go up to Iraq and they get him by the hair. And they drag him into the arc light at the petrol station forecourt. Okay, everybody, take a good look at this guy. Iran, Syria, you watching? Brazil. Maybe you're thinking about not implementing the IMF austerity package. Take a good look at this guy, see what happens next. Wham! And they bloody Malay rock, trample him into the dirt, cut off his ears, and when the dust settles, the United States is leaning on his bloody, bespattered, splintered baseball bat, getting his breath back. And Venezuela, meanwhile, has come down to the petrol station forecourt and is walking around America. That fight took it out of you, compañero. 10 years ago, you take this guy, you don't even break sweat. This time, I gotta tell you, I don't think you could have taken him at all. If it was not for the help of your little friend. You mean this bitch? Well, you know, when he says bitch, what he really means, of course. Shut up! Shut up! I got this neighborhood under control. At which point a Hyundai driven by North Korea speeds past Death to America! You were saying, compañero, about control? I could not hear because someone was shouting "Death to America" very loudly in my ear. Would you care to repeat for me? You want a piece of me? Anytime you like. Okay, let's go. Let's go up to fight and hear this noise. Hey, look up. Here comes China. Is there a problem? No problem at all, sir. No problem at all. We owe you $149 billion. Keep buying those dollars to buy oil. No problem at all. A little local difficulty. Everything taken care of. Everything under control. I just felt I couldn't get all that across on one answer on question time. Here's how shallow I am. For all the fascinating, terrifying things happening in China, I just can't get my head past this one central fact of Chinese political life, which is that the president of China is called Hu Jintao, and the prime minister of China is called Wen Jiabao. So the president is Hu, and the prime minister is Wen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a marvelous early 20th century vaudeville routine. Who's Prime Minister of China? No, when's Prime Minister? Who's President? That's what I'm asking. That's what I told you. When? No, when's Prime Minister? I know when's Prime Minister. I want to know who's President. Who's President? Who's the guy? Who's the guy? You got it. What I got? I got nothing. I just told you. When? No, when's Prime Minister? Don't start that again. He was sucking a jaw. You and whose army? That's what I want to know. We are about to enter a whole new era with peak oil. Petroleum geologists predict at some point between 2006 and 2010 we will pass the planetary peak oil spike, and from then on, with every year, there will be less and less net energy available to humankind no matter what we do. And this is, I believe, an epoch of such enormity that to make any meaningful comparison at all, you've got to go back to the Mayans, to the Romans, and the collapse of the last complex civilizations. Because those civilizations, they didn't collapse just because people got bored of being Mayans and Romans. The high priest didn't come out onto the temple steps at Chichen Itza one solstice giving it, oh, this is bollocks, isn't it? What am I doing? Really? And the Roman Empire didn't end just because they got bored of being Romans. In the last days of Rome, you only about 30 people showing up at the Colosseum, and the gladiators' hearts weren't in it. And they're like... Even the lions are bored. Most of the gladiators ended up playing Gaylord tennis. But the scoring was fiendishly difficult because the hot Italian sun made perspiration inevitable, no matter the sang-froid of the individual dandy racketeer. Those civilizations collapsed because their strategies for energy capture became subject to the law of diminishing returns. Now, there's a brilliant book out in a minute about peak oil called The Party's Over. Oil, War, and the Fate of Industrial Societies, although I sometimes suspect that it's because my own life is so empty that I'm powerfully attracted to a book whose title is The Party's Over. Yeah, Jude Law, swanning around the globe with all your actress girlfriends. Well, I'm afraid to have to tell you the party's over. And all you young people driving away in the nightclub discotheques, going home and having free love, excuse me while I take the needle off the record. The party's over. And Richard Heinberg, who wrote The Party's Over, his thesis is, look, the name we gave to the world that first coal and then oil made is industrial society. When we pass the peak oil spike and oil depletes rapidly, it is the collapse of industrial society. And that faced with this enormous fact, this elephant in the room, humans are in denial, looking as ever for the quick techno fix. But there is no way out. Not this time, but we are suckers, and we need to believe. Like the victims of every contract ever played, we need to believe, but there is no way out. Well, we run out of oil, we go to the hydrogen economy, but there are no hydrogen reservoirs. Beneath the Thames Valley, you make hydrogen fuel cells from fossil fuel cells. You can use hydrogen fuel cells to store wave and wind. It's not useless, but it's not an energy source, it's an energy carrier. No way out. Well, we run out of oil, we go to the nuclear option. Well, apart from everything else is the small matter. That from mining to decommissioning, the nuclear cycle as a whole produces 75% as much carbon emissions as coal-fired gas stations non-starter. No way out. I don't want to bum you out totally. There are some hopeful technologies, credit where it's due. I mean, not enough people are investing in these technologies, but okay, they're there. If you must have cars in the future, they can be powered by zinc air fuel cells, which produce a non-toxic byproduct, zinc oxide, which is a kind of viscous, thick, creamy white substance which can be recycled into fresh zinc fuel pellets using electrolysis and walnut oil. And the catalyst that they're developing at Stanford University is thermobroma cacao, or coca solids. So the car of the future will drive along powered by zinc air fuel cells, and out the back, on a little tray, will be produced a row of this thick, creamy white substance surrounded by a chocolate whirl with a walnut on the top. There is no way out. And transport is the least of our concerns. There is the small matter of the oil we eat.